Well, I had a fairly uneventful childhood, besides my brother smoking weed and doing drugs like pretty much all the other kids in my town. I got molested twice when I was young, which kind of ended in nothing, besides the old boy who had done it. Kind of flipped my view on sexuality, and I guess technically it was rape, but I feel like that gets misconstrued too often. It wasn't violent, and it wasn't the worst thing that I'd ever gone through, just a bit traumatizing and confusing. Past that, I guess I just kind of grew up the way I thought was normal, with school, sports, and friends. Then in the 3rd grade, my teacher had been diagnosed with cancer, and she was my favorite teacher in the world. It scared me a lot, so I started getting really anxious and all the time, and I started missing school, not doing work, spending more time with friends rather than doing what I had to do. That carried on a lot through the rest of my life, and even now as a senior, I've never fully caught up with my homework. So through middle school and a myriad of pills, therapy, and stupid shit to try and get me going again, which more than often did not make my dick not work or made me depressed or anxious, then I started playing with prescription drugs. I still played sports and all that, but always had that Xanax later in the day, or the Clopin, and always more than recommended. Never any illegal drugs for me at that point, but still wasn't good for me. I got accepted to the 4-year class for math prodigies, or gifted students, or whatever they called us at the time, and spent most of my time working on that. Calculus in 7th grade, along with another book doing math with numbers. Then 8th grade, a deeper understanding of calculus, and more math with numbers. And it continued like that until 9th grade, which I dropped out of my school in my 2nd semester because I was so anxious, and frankly I just didn't give a crap. I started smoking cigarettes in the 6th grade for some frickin' reason, then eventually drinking and smoking weed in the 8th and the 9th grade. Weed doing the less damage to me, but definitely not helping because I was smoking too much and too often. Then once I dropped out, it just kind of became a game. I started doing things like ecstasy by the summer after freshman year, along with prescription painkillers, Adderall, and shrooms and acid. And I spent a whole month tripping on acid shrooms my sophomore year. But that was more because I was depressed. And at the time, I had realized my dad was dying from an inoperable brain tumor. I was starting to drift away from my friends. And I wouldn't really blame it on the drugs, though I did. I just thought they were bad people. And in reality, nobody had my back. And continues to have my back more to this day, besides my family. Well, and my rave family. But that'll come into play later. Once I started to drift away, I met a girl who I fell madly in love with, and who seemed to be perfect, except she had very similar symptoms to me in anxiety. But hers were way worse. She would break shit, hit me with books. One time even put a big gash in my chin. By a genuine accident, of course. I had learned to tell the difference. She cut me off from my friends, mostly because she would allow me to let my paranoia control me and made it very easy for me to keep screwing up. She did spend a lot of time caring for me immensely not when she was freaking out though. One of the strangest souls I've ever met though. The sweetest little kitten you'll ever meet one second, then the most vicious lioness the next. She helped me keep my head up through my dad's death. But our romance was never meant to last. We often fixed our problems with long drug binges. At least they felt extremely long. My painkiller problem just got worse, eventually leading to a 2 solid-month addiction to hydrocodone and oxycodone. The first week, the Oxycontin, and then the Opana and the codeine syrup. I would be a liar to say I didn't love those drugs. They made me feel nothing. And at the time where my emotions were going crazy, it was perfect. But it was horrible for the month after I realized I had a problem. I swear I spent almost 4 days just in bed, not moving and smoking weed until I was comfortable enough to move. Now, I don't want to make it what it seems like. Those were not the only drugs that we ever did together. Because we did everything. She got me into cocaine and heroin. And I even did meth once with her. Mind you, this was all from mid-sophomore year into the end of junior year. It was a pretty ridiculous stint, though. But finally, after all the fighting and all the trouble, and finally getting me back to school at a specialty arts program, we broke up. It wasn't the same, which is the only reason I even did meth with her. I wanted to make something work that wasn't there, and it was horrible. We broke up, and I was lost, afloat in this world with nobody besides my mother and brother. However, my older brother lived in Boston almost all the time. That girl's out of my life now, though we tried to be friends. She was just too hot of a fire to handle, I guess. I heard she's getting married to one of my old friends from middle school. Kind of funny how shit works. After her is when I decided to start going out to more shows and raves. Like I had every once in a while done with her. And also where my rave family comes in. I met tons of amazing people and went crazy on drugs for a little while longer, but not nearly to the extent I was. I tried meth a couple more times. I knew that couldn't be my path, so I stayed away from those people. Did lots of MDMA, MMDA, and variants of all types, as well as LSD and lots of variants of that. There was one specific person, though, a friend of hers actually, that ended up getting me through it all. To this day, I'm not sure if I considered her so much like a brother because she was a lesbian or because she was pretty much family. But she saved my ass from months of torment and turned them into months of fun with a few days off. I can't contribute it all to her because many others helped. Like the guy and girl who taught me about poi and brought that into my life, which is now a daily activity for me. Or all the others that taught me about meditation, acceptance, universalism, and spirituality, tolerance, and dealing with life. But this girl, this lesbian girl, did everything to make me consider her as one who saved my life. From there, I've still been dabbing a bit in drugs, but I'm not accustomed to want to do them. But I drink more than I did then, and I don't smoke weed at the moment because of legal matters, but I already think I will once I'm done with them. I started doing poi and jing, then eventually producing my own music, which I thought would be fun since I had been playing viola, violin, guitar, mandolin, ukulele, drums, bass, and all that since I was about 8. It's been one hell of a ride, but I'm excited now. I mean, hell, if that's the first 18 years of my life, how crazy awesome will the next ones be?